Recently, I got some criticism about my video, Make Women Worship You Using Occult Secrets of Charisma and Mind Control. As one guy wrote in the comments, this video is good, but there's nothing extraordinarily new in this. Like, all the theories and practical tips here already exist on YouTube. There's nothing occult or magic about these tips. Now, let me stop you right there, Chief. First off, criticism of this channel is not allowed. And I'm letting you know that you have just officially been added to my list of enemies. You're done in this fucking town. It's over. You're finished. What if I show up to your house in a helicopter that looks like this? What then? But secondly, and more to the point, I don't think you have the foggiest notion of what the occult or magic actually is. And that's a problem, because if you don't even know what magic is, then you will not be a wizard. And if you don't become a wizard, you are going to be controlled by a wizard. And that is not where you want to be. I don't want you to be one of the prey in this world. I want you to be one of the predators. I want you to be at the cause of the events in your life and not at the effect. And in order to do that, you must sooner or later come to understand what magic is and how to do it. The benefits of understanding the true nature of magic and the occult are: you get hot girls, you get all the money you need, you get all the sex you could ever want, you get whatever sort of life you want, you develop an iron will, you learn to bend reality to your will. But most people, including and especially most of the people who profess to teach magic and the occult, do not understand the true nature of what these words mean. Like our commenter here, for example, who presumably thinks that for something to be magic, it has to involve putting on robes and waving a wand in the air and drawing pentagrams on the ground.
But I warn you, there will be the most dire consequences.
And so, presumably, when I make a video and I say this is going to touch on matters of the occult, they're assuming I'm going to be talking about how to summon demons or something, or how to astral project yourself into the women's locker room. That is not the occult. That is not magic. That is imagination and fairy tales for the gullible and the weak and the malformed. And fundamentally, it's for those who are weak people in life. And so they want to be told fantastical tales as a form of escapism because they have failed at everything they ever tried. The occult and magic, these words refer to something very different. They refer, in fact, to the most important, the most sacred, the most holy work a man can ever engage in. They also refer to how to get everything you've ever desired in your wildest fantasies, and how to achieve your fantasies in actuality, not just in your imagination, not just in the astral realm, but how to get whatever you want in your actual physical hands. So in this video, I'm going to bitch slap the shit out of you and tell you what the occult actually is, what it isn't, and why it matters. The word occult means hidden, concealed, or secret. These days, it has come to refer to mystical, supernatural, or magical powers, practices, or phenomena. The key word there, however, is magical. The occult, as far as I'm concerned, is simply an adjective to refer to magic. Now, can the occult also refer to ghosts and aliens and haunted houses and demon possession and so forth? Sure, that's fine. But on this channel, I'm almost never referring to any of that bullshit when I use the word occult. I'm referring to magic. I'll get back to magic in a second, but first, just as a side note here, with all that paranormal stuff, you know, I've had at this point dozens of paranormal experiences in my life.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
Bizarre and fantastical phenomena happen to me virtually every year at this point, and they just get crazier and crazier. I could make a 10-hour video of all the insane, supernatural, paranormal shit that's happened to me. But what does any of that actually amount to? It doesn't amount to a goddamn thing. The paranormal is very real and very alive, but it is a dead end. Chasing it down, following up on it, trying to figure out what it means, it's a dead end. It's a waste of fucking time. Because it's a lot like in that movie American History X, where the black high school principal guy asked the neo-Nazi guy who's in prison,
"Has anything you've done made your life better?"
And when he reflects on it, he has to admit after a while, like, well, I suppose no, not really. And it's the same way with the paranormal and ghosts and aliens and conspiracies and all of this shit. It's not that looking into this stuff is necessarily dangerous, it's just that it's a waste of time. You can go down these rabbit holes and they are entertaining and they can be fun as a form of light amusement, but ultimately they are a distraction from the only thing that matters, and that is doing magic. That is to say, making your life better, imposing your will on reality, making reality conform to your will, rather than compromising and cucking and changing yourself to conform to whatever reality wants to impose upon you. So when I use the word occult in my video titles, yes, sorry to disappoint you. I'm usually not talking about ghosts or ghouls or whatever. I'm talking about magic. Now, of course, that begs another question, which is what is magic? And again, people have this all wrong. They think magic is about the supernatural, which sometimes it might be, but the real definition of magic, the proper definition of magic, the only definition worth a damn in my book, is that of the notorious English occultist and ceremonial magician Aleister Crowley, who said that magic is the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with will. Change in conformity with will. That is magic. That is what constitutes the magical. Now, does this necessarily involve the supernatural? Does it involve summoning a god? Does it involve ghosts and ghouls or Count Dracula or Count Chocula? Maybe, but probably not. And I myself originally had some objections to this definition of magic because it seemed to me that if you define magic like that, it becomes too vague and too broad to be meaningful. For example, if I go make a cup of coffee, I've technically caused a change to occur in conformity with my will. So is that magic? Obviously not. And so for that reason, I wasn't a fan of Crowley's definition of magic at first. It seemed to lower magic to being a bland, mundane, almost pedestrian sort of thing. It removed all its mystery and charisma. However, I've come around to it and I now believe this is the best definition of magic. But the whole key to it lies in this word, will. Will is the key concept in magic. Magic is about causing change in conformity with will. Magic, by my definition, is about imposing your will on reality. Imposing your will on reality. That is magic, and there is no other form of magic worth talking about. As Jack Nicholson puts it in The Departed,
I don't want to be a product of my environment. I want my environment to be a product of me.
Or as George Bernard Shaw wrote, the reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable one persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man. Now again, if we take these definitions of magic and the occult, then it's very obvious we're not talking about ghosts and goblins or something like that. We're actually talking about something much, much more serious. When we talk about the occult proper, we are actually talking about the only thing that is worth knowing in this world, period. That is how you, as a man, can impose your will on reality, rather than having reality imposed on you by others. That is the only thing in this world that matters. That is the only thing in this world that is worth learning. That is the only thing in this world that is worth teaching. Now, as we said, the key word in all that, the word that everything hinges on here, is will. And I want to talk about this for a second because it's very, very important. What is will? Now, Aleister Crowley's famous maxim in his work, The Book of the Law, which Crowley claimed had been dictated to him by a supernatural being or a god called Eos, his famous maxim was, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law." It says elsewhere, "Thou hast no right but to do thy will." Now, these brilliant and glittering maxims of power and force have come to be very widely misunderstood, including, in my opinion, even by Crowley himself. On the surface, the way people usually interpret this is to mean basically, do whatever you want. There is no law except do whatever you desire at any and every moment. And Crowley himself more or less seems to have lived as if that was what he had been told by this god. I think Crowley actually made a fundamental mistake there, as I also think most people who followed Crowley made. I think that if you actually examine this maxim carefully, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, what it seems to be saying on the surface is actually the opposite of what it really means. On the surface, again, this seems to be an extremely permissive doctrine, a bit like the hippies of the 1960s. Do whatever you want. It's all good, man. Just go with the flow. This is not what do what thou wilt means at all. That is not what this angel was telling Crowley to do. I think Crowley got the message all garbled up. He was not a pure enough vessel to receive the message without static interference from his own subconscious. Do what thou will shall be the whole of the law is in fact the most severe, the most militant, the most radical, the most uncompromising and strictest injunction the gods have ever given to man. Do what you will is actually the opposite of the hippie doctrine of do whatever you want. Because here's the thing, doing what you will and doing what you want are completely different things. And it's not only that they're different, it's that in life, in actual practice, they're almost always diametrically opposed to each other. I do not want to go to the gym. I want to lay on my couch and watch videos. But it is my will to make my physical body beautiful and strong. I do not want to go out and approach women tonight. I want to stay at home where it's safe and warm and cozy and get a good night's sleep. But it is my will to meet a beautiful woman and have an adventure with her. When you see a hot girl, you do not want to approach her. You want, as a matter of fact, to do absolutely anything but approach her. But your will is to approach her. And so when you do approach her, you are doing magic. You are forcing your external environment, which in this case means your own body, to change in conformity with the dictates of your will. You are forcing your body to approach her, even though it does not want to approach her. In this way, you are successfully imposing your will on objective reality. So doing what you want and doing what you will, it's not just that they're different, it's that they're usually always opposites. And so again, let's look at this other maxim. Thou hast no right but to do thy will. Now, when you put that in the context of everything I've just said, that is actually the most severe, radical command that a God has ever given to a man. Because doing your will is the hardest thing to do. It is harder than just obeying the law or not sinning. Not sinning is easy. You can be lazy and not sin. You can be weak and not sin. You can have virtually no positive willpower at all and still not sin. Because not sinning is mostly a passive process. But doing your will is an active process. It is hard. It is scary. It requires you to take action. It requires you to take risks. It can also be one of the most lonely things you could ever do. And doing your will generally requires a lot more discipline and grit and determination than doing someone else's will. Like if you're in the army or you work in an office and your boss says do this and you have to do it or else you'll be fired, that's easy. That's much, much easier than doing your own will. Because when you're doing your will, not someone else's will, there is no one else there to keep you accountable. There's also no external punishment or immediate negative consequence if you don't do your will. So it is in the struggle to get yourself to do what you will that magic is created. As the ancient Greek proverb puts it, the gods help those who help themselves. That one is worth meditating on, by the way. It has a great deal more meaning to it than what might be initially obvious. So, magic is about causing change in conformity with will. Magic is about doing your will. Magic is about imposing your will on the world. It's also necessarily about imposing your will on yourself. A lot of people are attracted to magic because they are failures in life. They're unable to deal with the world as it really is, and so they take comfort in a world of unreality. They are attracted by their own imaginary ideas about gods and demons and deities and angels, and a whole host of other fantastical notions. And for these people, the idea of magic and the occult functions as a kind of opiate to help them cope with the pain of failing at everything they've ever tried. Related to this are people who are attracted to the occult because they are bored and they want to be titillated by various fantastical tales and stories. People who are obsessed with ghosts and haunted houses and aliens and things like this. All of this is a complete distraction. And I'm not here to hate on it or be a wet blanket. I mean, if you enjoy reading about that sort of thing, that's fine. It's fun. You know, I like it too as a form of light entertainment. And as I said before, I've personally had tons of paranormal experiences myself in my life. I would need to make a 10-hour video to go through all of it. It is completely unbelievable, some of the things I've seen, even some of the things I've personally done. The paranormal is a fucking distraction, okay? And I'm saying that to you not as a skeptic or a materialist. I'm saying that to you as someone who has had these experiences, who believes at least some of them are real, not imaginary. Nevertheless, these things are a distraction. They're irrelevant. What matters, the only thing that matters, is imposing your will on this reality, inflicting yourself on the world. That is what becoming a magician is about. That is what being a man is ultimately about, or should be about. The environment of inanimate physical matter must be made to conform to your will. Man must master nature. Man must make matter the slave of mind. We are here to subjugate the world of physical matter and make it obedient to the realm of mind, or will. We are God's shock troops in this realm. We are his bravest and most daring explorers, adventurers, conquistadors. We left our home in heaven, that is the spiritual world, and we have journeyed into this realm of physical matter. And it is our task to impose order on the chaos of matter, to make the world of matter the slave of the world of mind, to make nature conform to the will of man. Every time you impose your will on reality, you accomplish a small but important part of this great work. You bring the world of inanimate matter, little by little, under the greater and ever-increasing control of mind. That is, under your own power. And what are we doing this for? We're doing it so that 1,000 years or 1,000,000 years from now, our descendants will be able to think a thing and have it appear in physical reality, instantly. We're going to make this realm of physicality like heaven, which is our original home. Like the conquistadors who traveled from Europe to South America in rickety wooden boats, we are going to bend this realm to our will and impose our desires upon it. We are going to remake it in our image. This would mean, for example, that if the thought or the whim came into your mind that you wanted to play an original 1959 Gibson Les Paul guitar, then the guitar you want, along with the amp you want, the tone you want, will materialize in your hands. That is the world that we are working to bring about. And you might say, well, that's impossible. But the things we are now able to do in 2024 with our present technology would have been considered impossible, or they would have been considered literal magic or witchcraft by somebody living in 12th century Europe. Think about electricity, the internet, photographs, videos, recorded sound, music. Think about all the technology and all the things we have and enjoy now that we take for granted. Those things are magic. If you had shown an iPhone with YouTube on it to someone living in 14th century Germany, they would have burned you alive because they would say you're a witch. And guess what? They would have been right. Technology is witchcraft. They would be 100% correct in saying that this contraption you're showing them is the work of some demon or angel or infernal spirit. It is. You know, in 1969, with the help of former SS officer Werner von Braun, American rocket scientists put a man on the moon and brought him back. Think about how insane that is. Not just to put a man on the moon, but to get him back home in his bed safely. If you had told people living in ancient Greece that would one day happen, they would have laughed you out of the room. It is fantastical, and it was done. I don't care about your fucking conspiracies. Argue with me all you want. It was done. It's actually not even a shadow of the even more remarkable things that man has accomplished in terms of imposing his will on the world of matter. The very fact that you're able to watch this video at all is utterly preposterous. The things mankind has already achieved as an objective fact are incomprehensible. And 99% of all the humans who've ever lived would have correctly identified all this technology we now have as magic and witchcraft and as being the work of demons and spirits. That is what the occult actually is, okay? Talking about haunted houses and vampires and satanic imagery in pop videos and all this shit is a complete fucking distraction. The occult is about imposing our will as men on external reality. It is the holiest, most sacred pursuit that exists or that can ever exist. And all of this science and all of this technology came directly out of the occult and out of the study of magic. Magic is the father of science and always has been. If you even look at, say, something like the moon landing and the space program, one of the most influential engineers whose work contributed to that was a man named Jack Parsons, who was a practicing black magician, an occultist, and a disciple of Crowley himself. If you look at Isaac Newton's work, The Foundation of Physics, it's an outgrowth of his obsession with alchemy and mysticism. And people will tell you, well, there's no connection, it's just coincidence. He was interested in lots of things, and some of them ended up proving to be scientifically valid, like Newtonian physics, and others turned out to be dead ends, like alchemy. No, this is a child's understanding of how discovery and invention actually takes place. Because had Newton not been engaged in the great work, the work of self-purification through a study of alchemy, who are you to say he would have had any of the same insights into the nature of physical reality? You can't separate one thing from the other. It's ahistorical and naive. Everything is connected to everything else. And then modern chemistry itself emerges directly from alchemy and the Western magical tradition. Robert Boyle, the man now regarded as the first modern chemist, was principally an alchemist who, believing the transmutation of metals to be a possibility, carried out experiments in the hope of achieving it. Now, the destiny and the fate of our race, our species, is the continuation of this Faustian project of making the world of matter the slave of the world of will or mind. This will eventually culminate, if we can achieve it, in a situation in which it will be possible for you to have anything and everything you desire just by thinking about it, like in a lucid dream. Now, I'm probably going to get some new age nut jobs and law of attraction cranks in my comments saying, but Mike, that's already the case, man. Read Reality Transurfing. You can shift into whatever part of the multiverse you want. And like, yeah, okay, I get it. But I'm actually talking about a future in which this is not a metaphor or figure of speech, but is literally true. Absolutely anything you want in your wildest fantasies can be had physically and will manifest itself instantly in your hands just by thinking about it. Anything you want to create, any work of art, any form of self-expression will also be yours to summon into existence instantly at will. That is what heaven is like. But that is what we are going to make this physical realm into as well, using magic. That is to say, using technology. That is the telos towards which we are heading with all this technology. That is where our species is going, or trying to go. And you might say that's impossible, it breaks the laws of physics. But again, the same exact thing would have been said by people in the not too distant past if you told them about even a fraction of the things we now enjoy and take for granted, such as electricity and modern telecommunications. So again, when we talk about the occult on this channel, when we talk about magic, we are usually not talking about candles and pentagrams and werewolves and vampires, okay? Sorry to disappoint you. There's actually something a lot more important we need to deal with. That is our destiny and our purpose as a species and the mission which we have been given as a gift of grace by the gods. And that is the imposition of our will onto reality. Making reality conform to our will. Making the external conform to the internal. Making the objective world of the outside conform to the will of the subjective world of the inside. Magic is what works. If you want to know what works to get a hot girlfriend through online dating without needing to approach anyone, you need to get my program, The Girlfriend Button. That is a text-by-text system I put together which shows you every single text I send girls on dating apps, which has allowed me to pull very, very attractive women who are way out of my league. To get girlfriends and buddies on command, literally at the touch of a button. I want to show you how to do that, and I'm going to reveal the #1 black magic text that does this for you, and that literally lets you install emotions of love and obsession directly into a woman's unconscious mind just by sending her this one simple text. I reveal exactly how to do that in the video on the next page. Click the link in the description to watch it now. When you click that link, you'll be taken to a secret video on my own website where I reveal the ultimate secret to cast a spell on women with your words and make them fall in love with you over text message, even if they're smoking hot and you're unattractive, broke, old, shy, or anything else. So click the link in the description to learn the secret of getting any girl you desire into bed right now using simple little text messages.